Hi there, guys. This is not really a planned video. Let me just get that out of the way. This is not content I intended on making, but I found myself discussing with a few friends the nature of Path of Exile's ambiguity and how difficult it is to get in as a new player, and browsing Reddit and a few of the posts on the same topic, which really is what sparked the conversation. And I found an argument in which some people were stating that Path of Exile is a game where basically everything is something you can figure out with enough time, and that there really isn't ambiguity in the game, and that everything is stated directly for you. You know, nothing is technically incorrect. I believe that was the term used. I don't recall. Anyways, Reddit posts aside, I probably shouldn't dwell on them. It got me to thinking if that was accurate. And I started looking through a lot of the problem children as far as items go and passives go and things that people ask me about all the time on stream. Problematic wordings, unintuitive mechanics, that sort of thing. Things that people find difficult to grasp as a newer player very often. And one of the ones that I think particularly exemplified my problem with the current way that Path of Exile sort of handles its delivery of information was comms roots. So I just want to go over briefly for anybody who is a newer player and doesn't know what these items do off the top of their head, or what this item does off the top of their head. Comms roots gives you a downside of has no sockets, so you pay for using the item by not having as many gem sockets on your build, so you don't have as many utility setups. It's only 4 sockets that you lose, given that it's the boot slot. But, you know, that's pretty straightforward. You see that text, you see there's no sockets on it, you understand what that means. You get a lot of life, you get cannot be knocked back. So far, so good. Unwavering stance. Maybe you don't know what that means immediately, but you can, you know, actually search that in-game. You can, like, search around on the passive tree. There's a search function there now. You can find Unwavering Stance, see what it does. As it says right here, gives you the keystone. And that keystone gives you cannot be stunned, but cannot evade attacks. You know, trade-off. However, it's this line right here that might be problematic for new players. You cannot be slowed to below base speed. This is perfectly accurate in a description of what the item does. A new player, though, will see this and think, oh good, I can't go any slower than my base character speed. Perfectly logical line of reasoning, I would say. Not technically correct. You cannot be slowed to below base speed does not mean you cannot go any slower than your base character speed. Or rather, you cannot go any slower than your current base character speed, which is your usual base character speed most of the time, but sometimes your base character speed can be made lower. A little bit of a mouthful, hard to fit on the text there, but basically what happens if we go through to Unstoppable, you can see a more in-depth explanation here. This right here is the text we're looking for. Second special modifier prevents the player's movement speed from being modified below base value. Player's movement speed is the speed at which the player walks without any movement speed modifiers, so bonuses or penalties. Therefore, if the player's base movement speed would be reduced below this value, such as when standing on tarred ground or even immobilizing effects such as Vol Rain of Arrows, it will instead be its base value. So Unstoppable specifically gets around what Comms Roots doesn't. Comms Roots does not have this effect. The movement speed cannot be modified to below base value. It does have this. So missing this line of text means things like Tarred Ground and Vol Rain of Arrows will immobilize and slow you, respectively. So the end result is new player puts on pair of Comms Roots, goes run some maps. Chilled Ground doesn't affect him anymore. Temp Chains doesn't affect him anymore. It feels awesome. It's great. You come across one of those zombie packs, one of those blackened Icarus zombie packs that looks horrifying and disgusting, and you charge in with wild abandon, knowing you will not be harmed by their slowing effect, and you start walking across the tarred ground, and you can't go very, very quickly, and you're slowed down, and you're like, what the fuck? What happened? I put on Comms Roots. Why am I walking at 10% movement speed? Why am I walking incredibly slowly? What's going on? What's happened there is your base movement speed value was modified. So you're still not being slowed below your base movement speed. However, Tar Ground makes it so your base movement speed is much lower than what it would normally be. The text on Tar Ground, or the wiki page for Tar Ground, the text on Comms Roots all of the effects are working as literally stated in the game and working as intended. There is no bug here. There is no technically incorrect text anywhere in the game. But you still result in a very confused player. You still result in a very legitimately confused player, I would say. You can argue, well, before equipping comms roots, they should have done their research. They should have looked up this wiki page. They should have gone to see a detailed explanation next to Unstoppable. They should have clicked on Tarred Ground to see what Tarred Ground does. And no. No, they shouldn't have. I don't think that a player should be required to delve through 3 wiki pages to fully understand a pair of boots, to fully understand the item they're throwing onto their build that is supposed to just have the upside of not being able to be slowed below your base movement speed. I don't know. Perhaps within the Path community there is some sort of fascination with creating this interconnected, obfuscated web of strange and unusual interactions. And from that, oftentimes, organically, very cool things are grown. I don't want to advocate for a lack of depth in the game. I don't want to advocate for a lack of build diversity. I don't want that to go away. However, depth and complexity is not the same thing as obfuscation. We can have things be clear and understandable and still be interesting. And comms roots is a great example of something that is not made more interesting for its obfuscation, is not made more useful, more cool, more build enabling for the unintuitive way in which it operates and the interaction with Targround. And yeah, this probably isn't something that's going to drive away a new player, but the layers upon layers of this in the game, that will. And there's probably some in the audience who are scoffing at wanting to have new players in the community who just don't want the casuals in, but really, this isn't the way to keep them out. You don't want the people who labor all day at your Farmvilles and your mobile games and all that crowd. If you have such disdain for them, then make a legitimately interesting and complicated game. And don't just hang spiderwebs of obfuscation over everything and call it a day. We should clear up this sort of thing, and we should make more interesting and intriguing interactions. It's difficult, but I think we can do it. Well, I think GGG can do it. I'm going to sit and watch and complain. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I don't know, maybe I taught you a thing or two about how comms roots work, if nothing else. I'll see you guys in the next one.